Human Nature, a journey in search of a peaceful and prosperous society with human nature as a guide. Led by your host, Adam Heyman.
Hello, and welcome to Human Nature. Folks, you're in for a treat. My guest today is the delightful, the irreverent, the magical Doc Dixon. Hi, Doc.
Hello, Adam. I am very glad to be here. I already feel the pressure. I wasn't going to try to achieve treat status.
Well,
I think that's putting a lot of pressure on. And irreverent. I revere that which should be revered, but I'm irreverent towards that which should not be.
balance. That's delightful. Yeah, well, pace yourself. You don't need to be a treat like right away. Let it grow.
It's like, food fit for a king. Here, king. Here,
Here,
king.
king.
There you go.
Well, says here in your bio that you're some sort of a wizard. So my first question for you is, what the hell does Expelliarmus mean?
I have no idea. There's a trend within the magic. I hate to use this word community because I'm old enough when community meant people you'd see,
Right.
not virtual, all that. To refer to non-magicians as muggles. I just can't do it.
No.
I just can't.
Well, speaking
I
of
prefer terms like they're not in the union.
they're just not in the union. They're
Not in the union.
tradecraft. So, you have been at your craft for quite some time, and I'm curious what your origin story is. You are a magician. You entertain crowds and private events, corporate events. You even managed to fool one Penn and Teller on their
Yeah.
famous show. So I'm just curious how you got into this whole thing.
Oh, sure. Okay. Like many little kids, when I was 10 or younger, I got, the magic kit, and I think I was uh, blessed to grow up in kind of the heyday of magic kits when they were bigger and clunkier and you could make a mess with it. And I had a very patient mother, amazingly so, who didn't mind my messes. Probably the real hook, though, were a couple of books I got as a 10-year-old. There was a guy by the name of John Scarney, probably most famous to non-magicians or people that aren't into magic, as being the hands for Paul Newman in the card cheating scene in the movie The Sting.
The Sting, right?
Those were Scarney's hands, edited in there. That's going back a ways, 1973, I think that movie came out. And I got this book, Scarney on Card Tricks, which was 150 tricks. But the thing was, Scarney was a real sleight of hand master, but the book was written for the non-magician public. So it relied on things like mathematical card tricks,
Right.
and, subtlety, psychology, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I get this book filled with mathematical card tricks. Now, at the age, I'm probably like 8, 10. At the age of 8 or 10, you wouldn't expect me to be good at sleight of hand, but also you wouldn't expect me to be good at math. So I can remember doing a trick for my mom. It was a math trick, and it ends up, Mom, is this your card? And she's like, no, it's not it. Is this your card? No, that's not it. And she says, okay, sweetheart, Mommy has to go to the bathroom. So Mom goes to the bathroom. And I'm still looking for the card. I start shoving cards underneath the bathroom door. Mom, is this your card? It's like, no, honey, no. Is this your card? I think the reason I'm a magician today was it took until like the fourth card shoved underneath the door before my mom went, would you stop this? I'm trying to go to the bathroom. If she wasn't that patient, if she stopped me a couple cards earlier, might not happen. And then another book was the Amateur Magician's Handbook, which, despite its title, is one of the few books you can buy in like normal bookstores as opposed to magician shops, which really goes into some depth on sleight of hand. And so that kind of sunk its teeth into me mentally.
Oh,
And,
yeah, absolutely.
got me committed to it. So that was it.
I got to assume once you get those first couple of looks of amazement, when you really fool an audience, I mean, even if it is your family, it's got to be quite the feeling, quite the dopamine hit.
Yes, yes, and I know this will come as shock to you, but myself as a libertarian magician, I was a little shy and dorky. I know that's totally against both the libertarian and magician profile, but yes.
And then also following the paradigm, you overcompensate by being a narcissistic show off, a know it all, get in front of a public and make a big spectacle of yourself.
Well, it's less narcissistic now and more profiteering.
Ah, very nice.
I have tricks to do. Watch. Oh, there's a check. Yay. Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, I did a few of those mathematically based card tricks, and those are an awful lot of fun. But yeah, learning. When did you first get really good, where you could like confidently perform the mechanics of card tricks? I mean, did it take a few years to really get the dexterity, or your hands big enough, or whatever you needed?
Big hands aren't really an issue.
That's what she said.
Why? Though I'm a big guy, so maybe it's easy for me to say that. But there are like some very talented people that aren't that big. I don't think I seriously got into it until my early 20s. I mean, I learned a few things, but my exposure to real magic shops, the one in Pittsburgh, unfortunately no longer there, Pittsburgh, where I grew up, the Cuckoo's Nest was the name of the shop. That's when I really got into it. It's so much easier to learn now than I was coming up. The internet changed everything. I mean, back when I was learning, there were some things that it's almost like you had to know a guy if you wanted to learn it. It was, oh, you want to learn that? Well, then let me see if you're good at this. And it's kind of, you had to earn it. Now, boop, that's how you do it. Or maybe you can't get it online, but you can purchase the secret. You can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just from an observer standpoint, it looks like the mystique has rubbed off of it. You know, when I think of people in the old days learning magic, I think of somebody, finding Mowgli's shop, in an alley in Chinatown or something, purchasing some dusty old card trick. But now, yeah, it would
Mowgli.
Or Mogwai, I don't know. The gremlin thing.
Yeah, it's Mogwai. I think Mowgli is
the Jungle Book. Yeah, no.
Jungle Book. Yeah.
I'm getting that brain thing that you don't lie. You have it too.
Oh, I own it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of amazed that it's not like magic is dying off as a thing you can do or to amaze audiences still. I would have thought the internet might have killed it a little bit, but
no, it hasn't. I mean, back in the 20s, there were Camel cigarette ads exposing how to do things like sawing a woman in half and all that. Back in the 80s, it was in the 80s or 90s. There was the Masked Magician. Remember those specials on Fox?
Yeah.
And they were exposing like how to do tricks. There's this cabinet, classic magic trick where typically a woman goes inside and the middle of it is pushed and she's, no doubt you've seen it.
Yeah.
That trick from a respected manufacturer, or that prop more accurately, it's going to probably cost a couple grand or more to get a really top shelf one. I always felt bad for the guy who bought that the next day, that special aired. But the reality is that special aired, several decades ago, and people are still out nailing audiences with that trick. Magic exposures has always been there. There's a scandal right now within the magic community of this guy who's doing TikTok videos, and there's several that do them. And they expose stuff, and expose the verbiage. Yeah, show how to do the trick real quickly for cheap clicks, and I just ignore it because one, I can't do anything about it. I can't stop them. But two, and I think a lot of magicians should realize this, I see this stuff because of the way the algorithms work.
Right.
I said to my wife, "You see any of these videos?" And on your Facebook feed, she's like, no.
Yeah, that's the key.
She's not Googling magic stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the key.
Now, I do think these people are tools for doing this because
sure.
But whatever, can't do anything about it. And
the chances that someone in your audience is going to have seen it and it ruin it for them, or maybe they, yell out to the crowd and ruin the whole show. That's just, the chances have to be pretty low.
Yeah. Now, we do have to be conscious of things we didn't have to be aware of before. Like, if I'm going to do a trick, I'm not going to announce the title of the trick. Brace yourself for the Feldman paradox. People will get on their phones. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm just going to make up trick names. This is called the Feldman paradox.
Yes. I assumed you made up that one, and that's a great name.
This trick's called taxation is theft.
Oh, that's a great trick. It happens to you several times a year.
Look at it. Yeah, constantly.
So here on this show, we talk a lot about human nature. What makes us operate, how we act, and what you do ties into that. In that, well, let me start off this way. When you were figuring out how to do any particular magical trick, what percentage of it, the average card trick, say, what percentage is the dexterity in perfecting the move or moves that are required, and what percentage is figuring out how to misdirect the attention of the mark or the audience member?
The mark.
I'm a gambler,
I know. How wonderfully condescending. The sucker.
One born every minute.
The pigeon. I gotta tell you. You know where the word mark comes from, by the way?
I do not.
It comes from the carnies. When someone would come into a carnival and they revealed themselves to be someone who was willing to lose money quickly, they'd put a chalk mark on the back of the person. They'd smack their back, and that's where the term came from, the mark. I have other useless knowledge to share, but let's wait for that. Really, one of the first things I'm thinking, the bulk, though I do a fair amount of close-up sleight of hand work, and actually some of my stage show is that, but constructed to play for a larger audience. One of the first things I'm thinking is not one of the questions you asked, but how do I make this funny?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you've seen me work a few times. That's where I'm coming from, and it could be like, oh, that's amazing. But if I don't see a path to make this funny, interactive, I'm not really. I'm not interested in that. As far as the sleights, a good metaphor, at least I've been told this is one because I'm not a musical person, but when you play the guitar, if you learn a few chords, it enables you to play a large variety of songs, or however large, small variety of songs. With magic, specifically card magic, if you learn, say, a dozen sleights, and learn them well, it's going to open up the ability to do a lot of different tricks, because particularly if you pick the right sleights that are workhorses, they also tend to be more difficult. But I don't think of anything I do in sleight of hand as hard. I think of it as difficult. And I'm kind of perhaps making up my own definitions here, but my grandfather worked in the steel mill next to the blast furnace.
Oh my.
That's hard. I can practice sleight of hand sitting in a nice leather chair with a glass of single malt and a cigar. That may be difficult to do, but it ain't hard.
Amen.
The travel's hard. The travel, fitting my 6'4" frame in a flight across the other side of the world to get on a cruise ship. That's hard.
You and I are similarly sized fellas. I feel your pain there.
You know why? A lot of people don't know this. The Wright brothers, they were just 4'3".
Well, that explains everything. And they were damn near hanging off that big wing.
Yeah, that's why. And the plane was spacious because that's why.
It was space, as I recall.
And it never left. And so that's why the seats are still so small. It's nothing to do with airlines wanted to make more money.
So back to that question of mine, is it the case that the mechanics, the moves, does that naturally misdirect the audience, or is there something else you have to do? Is it one technique or is it two?
It all happens at the same time. I'm sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but it all kind of happens at the same time.
Misdirection.
Yeah, you combine it like okay. It's a little easier to explain for card sheets. I have a fairly good working knowledge of that arena. Okay. Old school card sheets, meaning not casino, but private games kind of thing. The guy could have a flawless bottom deal, flawless. But if a guy's burning his hands, another player's giving him that constantly, he's not going to move. He's not going to do the move.
Yeah.
So both of those things work together. There's a scene in the movie Rounders where Edward Norton is caught cheating in a game and
Caught a hanger.
Yes, which I don't know. Was that explained in the movie? He was dealing from the bottom, and the ace didn't come out all the way.
Well, I thought it was a sound. I mean, he like he hit his finger on a card, and it wasn't supposed to happen, so it slapped against the bottom of the deck. I think it was auditory.
Well, no, a hanger is when you pull one out, and maybe the one underneath it comes with it, or the card doesn't come out all the way, and you deal the top. That's
okay.
I
thought it was a noise.
Well, that is a struggle with the bottom deal to make the bottom deal sound is the same as the top. Here's a magic secret for you. The easier way to do that is to work on making your top sound the same as your bottom deal as opposed to the other way around.
There you go. And
also,
you should have played those kings, Mikey. Just play the kings.
What deal? That's my John Malkovich tribute. I will do the entire rest of the podcast in John Malkovich voice for the rest of the god.
Yeah, there's a market for that. I know a guy.
This is my Zoom show mug. This is what I drank during Zoom shows.
Do does happen. Very nice. See, folks, I told you you're gonna love this guy. So one of the interesting things about magic, from my novice perspective, is that you can see a trick and then be amazed by it, and if you happen to stumble across how it was done, frequently it's like your world has got turned upside down. It turned out like you as the audience member were just in the wrong paradigm. You thought you were seeing, one type of thing, but really, what was actually going on was, almost another dimension you couldn't see, like sometimes literally. And I've always thought that paradigm shift or lack thereof was a really interesting aspect of what the magician knows and what the audience member, doesn't know. Do you think of it like that, or is it?
Some tricks are like that. The audience is super clueless as to what is going on. No insult to the audience. I'm super clueless to the guy that fixes my transmission. Okay, I'm thinking of one routine in my show. That is a minimum 12-minute chunk, sometimes longer. It's very interactive. And there's a lot of laughs involved. The deceptive parts in it where I make a move, I'm just thinking now. Probably three times, and a total of two times, and a total of 6 seconds. How are you going to catch 6 seconds out of 12 minutes?
For sure. I guess I'm thinking of like where the audience member just doesn't even consider that it's possible that a mirror could be employed here, or that there could be a hole in the floor or something like that, just a completely different dimension, that's just not considered.
There are tricks like that. I unfortunately I can't give you a detailed example, but to where it's almost like the method of the trick is like the method for actual sword swallowing. And the method for that is you're actually shoving the metal down your throat.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Here, one I can tell you, because it's not so much magic, but it's cheating, and that is, are you familiar with riffle stacking?
Sure.
Okay, for listener that might not be, viewer might not be, riffle stacking is when you give the cards a tabled riffle, and you are timing the release of the cards that riffle off to weave the certain amount of cards between the cards that you want. Let's say you want 4 aces and you're weaving the right amount of cards between the aces so you get the 4 aces. I mean, that's just, one example of it. That's wicked hard. and one instructor on it, he said the secret to riffle stacking is there's no secret. That's really it. It's just obscenely hard to do, and there are other things like that are just, you would never even think that. Teller of Penn and Teller said sometimes the secret to magic is, and I'm heavily paraphrasing, but this is the meaning, being willing to spend more time working on something than anyone would ever think you would.
What was that movie about magic where the way it was performed is the guy had a twin? And he just
the Prestige.
The Prestige. That was amazing.
I did. I wish I could remember their names. I don't, no disrespect to them, but I did a podcast where we talk about movies, and we talked about, we're comparing The Illusionist to The Prestige. We talked a lot about The Prestige, and I like The Illusionist, the one with Edward Norton. I was okay. I was like, The Prestige is okay. And my biggest beef with The Prestige was and spoiler alert, whatever. You have a movie where a guy is willing to cut off his finger to match his twin, yet that wasn't the weirdest thing in the movie. I'm sorry. No, that wasn't the most unbelievable thing. No, that David Bowie is Tesla. And I'm sorry. It's like, just stop.
Yeah. That's
wait. And then when he's doing the vanishing, they've got a little cage here with a bird in it. And it vanishes. Now, they showed the method in the movie and way overcomplicated it than what it is in real life. Back then, late 19th century, early 20th century, magicians would use a real bird.
Oh, wow.
In the cage. The magician that invented that trick was taken to court for animal cruelty.
Oh, come on. What year? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll tell you his name off the show, or I'll find out. I'll Google it for it. I don't want to make this Googleable, the whole trick. Googleable, that's a word. Sure. But he vanished. So he was forced to demonstrate it in court to defend himself, and he got lucky. Lord. That one time the bird didn't die.
That one time, yeah.
That one time, or I wouldn't say like it was the only time it didn't die, but a lot of times, yeah, the bird died.
Or maybe he just used the same trick and he had a couple birds.
Yeah, that was breathe. Yeah, no one for decades has used a real bird, but yeah, but in the movie, Michael Caine, paraphrasing here, but pretty close, he says, when the guy's beefing about not wanting to do the trick, he says, if you're not willing to kill birds, get out of magic. And I just imagine, someone sees that movie and for whatever reason, they happen to go see a magic and they see, go to Vegas, say, and they see what magic we call a dove act, this guy's like, hey, you're killing those.
Yeah, that's crazy. Again, what year? I mean, that sounds like some...
I think it was late 19th century.
Oh, that's just awful. Animal cruelty. Okay. Have you seen the other things we do to animals, people? Oh, my Lord. So, Doc Dixon, where did you go to medical school?
It's short for Department of Corrections.
That's a good gag.
I keep it in the holster.
I have heard this story. just think it's interesting. Doc is not your given name, but it has
No.
a cool origin story.
Oh, I was an EMT,
An EMT.
emergency medical technician, and in my teens, I grew up living about 3-4 blocks from the. I would say clubhouse. That's not the word. I can't think of the word. The headquarters of the
Firehouse?
ambulance company. Fire. Well, it was an ambulance. It wasn't. We weren't fire people.
Well,
Firefighters.
Well, now we need to know. It's not clubhouse. What is it? Medical motor pool.
There you go. And when I was in Pennsylvania, I don't know if it's elsewhere, but where I grew up, you were able to get certified as an EMT when you were 16, and that's what I did. But realized magic, the stakes were far lower. Oh, you didn't pick the 3 of clubs. That's okay. Everyone's going to be fine.
Yeah, no, I would be horrified working as a medic in an ambulance. That's as you say, stakes are way too high.
Yeah, unpleasant.
So, did you have that nickname first, and then you just used it everywhere?
Yeah,
or did you?
Okay. Yeah. It just it was a nickname for some folks from working there, and I thought I'll use this professionally. It kind of fits my stage demeanor, so that's pretty much it.
You grew up in Pittsburgh, you said?
Outside of Pittsburgh, a little town called McKeesport.
And now you're
that's
Atlanta,
true,
Georgia.
Because that's not the kind of thing anybody ever makes up.
Not that name. No.
He's just trying to impress us. He's from McKeesport.
McKeesport. And now
when
you're
I was
in Georgia.
growing up, we had a neighborhood beautification program. Yeah, everyone painted their car the same color. Yeah, primer.
I thought you were going to go, and that's why they asked me to leave, to make the neighborhood more beautiful.
Yes. Oh, good. That'll be yes. Yeah, we moved to Georgia 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. So another origin story I'm curious about with you is, being a member of the niche thing that is magic is already one bit of weirdness. But then you go ahead and step foot into another even weirder, even nicher thing, libertarianism. How in the world did that happen to you?
I was bitten by a radioactive Rothbard. I'm sorry, a bomb exploded. I was exposed to Mises radiation.
Mises radiation gave you the powers of autism and
Stop.
The ability, the superpower to repel the members of the opposite sex.
Well, thankfully, I got married first.
Right, that's the key. No. That's the key.
It's fine. I knew you were going to ask that because that's I believe that is a federal law that on every libertarian podcast one must be asked, what is your origin story?
It is.
Mine just slightly different than most. I started reading about gold and the whole concept of fiat money and all that jazz. And then that opened the door to Ron Paul, and there you go. And then it's kind of the libertarian boilerplate.
That makes sense. I am going to take this moment, ladies and gentlemen, to defend my fellow podcasters for asking the same question over and over again, because libertarianism is freaking weird. And if you're sitting here in conversation with a fella and he shows up with, a boot on his head, it's just natural to ask, hey, what made you decide to put a boot on your head?
Yeah, though I do think there are more libertarians than bootarians. I think there's that's a very small niche.
Very, very narrow. Yeah. The less said about that fellow, the more. So did you and I meet in Orlando?
Was that a Zen cone? The less said about him, the more. What? The sound of one hand clapping? What was that?
If I channeled anything there, it was Yogi Berra, probably.
Yogi Berra. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Did you and I meet in Orlando? Is that I've seen you all over the place. So that was a great thing. How did you get involved with the great Tom Woods?
The homage to that right here.
Yeah. Sawing the Man in Half. That was a great, great show. You were on fire that night.
Oh, thanks. It was fun. It was a fun audience. How that happened. Okay. This is interesting to me, the way this all worked out. The episode where I fooled Penn and Teller was shot March 5th. in 2019. It aired September 9th, 2019. That day, I believe it aired, or the next day, uh, Tom, as he often does, sending out emails, sent out an email which referenced Penn,
Mm.
and who at the time uh, was more libertarian. Just put it that way. In the past few years, he's not as libertarian as he once was.
Or maybe he never understood it to begin with.
Well, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Yeah, I wouldn't presume to say that, but so I sent him an email back. I sent Tom an email, says, "Hey, I can't hook up with Penn, but I was just on his show and fooled him, yada yada." That's it. It was just kind of like, "Hi, Tom, fan of the show," kind of thing. And he emails me back, says, "Do you want to be a guest on the show?" Or as I like to tell the story, he emailed begging. The tear in a teary filled font. No. I says, "No, yeah, you want to be on the show?" He says, "Sure, that'd be fun." And then that happened. And then when he started talking about the Woods 2000, I thought, I occasionally saw people at half of my show. So I sent him an email and I put this in the subject line. I didn't put it in the body. I wanted to make sure this is read. I put it in the subject line. "Would you like me to saw you in half at the Woods 2000?
That's a good subject line.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't get in the spam file.
Nope.
So 5 minutes later, I get a response, all caps, "Definitely yes," 6 exclamation points. Now, I found out later that wasn't Tom replying. That was his then girlfriend, now wife, Jenna, replying. And she didn't even know I was a magician.
Yeah, that's good. The tell, because sometimes she'll impersonate him. The tell is that 6th exclamation point. Tom would never
6,
use
yes.
it. He's a
the tell.
professional.
And that was it. And then that happened, and I've done a few events with Tom, and they've always been a blast. I mean, the events have been a blast. Tom's wonderful, Jenna's wonderful, the whole deal. I felt in a way, I kind of. But what's the old expression? You were born on third base and you think you hit a triple.
Yeah, attributed to W. Bush, I think. That's the first time I heard it.
Oh, okay. I feel that way as far as getting to know other libertarians and networking. I mean, there's nothing like being in front of the room, being funny and sawing people in half. Too, I remember that guy. So yeah, in fact, that like the day after the weekend, my mailbox exploded with friend requests from other people and all that sort of thing, which was great.
Oh yeah, a whole new audience to connect with and get new business from. You've gone to a bunch.
And just more like-minded friends to help me keep sane.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, one of the great things about being plugged into, I hate to use that word, but there it is, libertarian community, is just you make so many great friends, and you speak a language that the normies just don't get, and it's, I don't know, it's reassuring, it's comforting.
Yeah. Although I will tell you, sometimes I think we speak too much our language.
Sure.
In conversations where, I mean, if you've ever been in a situation, I'm sure you have at one point or other, where you're around a couple of people who are speaking a language you don't understand, Spanish, Italian, whatever it is, and you don't get it, and it's not that's perfectly fine, but even if the roles were reversed and you were speaking English, there's a certain off-putting nature to it, and I think sometimes we tend to do that online.
Well, I think you're right. I have two things to say about that. One is that you're absolutely right. You don't go in with lingo and jargon around other people. It's off-putting. They won't understand you, and you'll just be a weirdo. You have to be able to speak to people in their language. And I like to think that over the decades, we've gotten better at that. I think more of our good people are better at that. But on the other hand, like one of the great things about being on the Contra cruise with Tom Woods and Bob Murphy back when they were doing that is that you'd be on this vacation with 100 or so people who do speak your jargon and your lingo, and that's just refreshing. That's just really nice.
Yeah, a lot of niches are like that. I mean, magic conventions are like that.
Right.
A bunch of magicians getting together. People. I mean, I remember the first one I went to after the shutdown. I was performing in was it Gatlinburg, I think it was, Tennessee, and I've never been in therapy, but I said afterwards, this must be what therapy feels like. It's like, oh, it felt so good, to be around so many good friends and make new friends, and yeah, it's nice. I mean, I think things like I get it. It's not an inside joke. That's not the term. I don't know how to describe it, but taxation is theft. Yeah, I get that because I get and you get that because we get all the background thought behind it.
Right.
But it's sort of like learning to play the piano. You don't begin with Flight of the Bumblebee. You begin with chopsticks. I not that taxation as theft is super difficult to understand, but there's a pedagogy to it, and I want to reach people. If I'm in a situation where I'm trying to reach people, I want to reach them where they are, and take those baby steps. Because how many times have you seen taxation and theft, and what the reply? What's the reply to that from the normie?
Oh, I don't know. Who's going to build the... Oh, my road.
Yes.
Yeah, who's going to build the road?
Yes. So we're making a proposition where we already know there will be an objection built into it. The sales guy into me is like, oh, couldn't we? I mean, there's going to be enough objections to begin with. Couldn't we kind of work around that one? But
I just heard Mary Ruwart on Tom's show make the argument that leading with stuff like that prompts a response that it's going to be is good, because then it gives you an opportunity to get their attention and reply. So I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think it's a good technique or that an icebreaker.
I think like all human interactions, context is everything. Online, I don't think we frequently get that chance to apply.
Yeah, online's a different animal. Online's a different animal. Yeah, for sure. Well, I have plenty of more magic-related questions, Doc, but I want to wind this down a little bit. Just in case the good people watching aren't already thrilled with you, can you direct people to where they can see more of your stuff and maybe even contact you and book you? Because I got to tell you, you are wonderful in front of a room. I've seen you perform several times, and you tailor what you're doing for the needs of the audience, and you just never miss. You are funny and engaging and very, very entertaining. So let people know where they can reach you.
Well, if you go right, where is it? I'm trying to there, docdixon.com. Go to docdixon.com, see some video, and you can reach me through the website. For your libertarian audience, lately I've been doing a fair amount of libertarian events. I'm going to be at the Washington convention in a few weeks, performing there.
Yeah, that should be a great time.
Enjoy those. Moderated. We last saw each other. Moderated the Arizona debate, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was a great one too. Did I see you're going to Colorado as well, or did I hallucinate that?
No, I'm not. I'm not in Colorado. I'm in Arizona. Well, I'm in Arizona, but some non-libertarian related stuff over the next few weeks. And I'm like all over. It's when you travel a lot. At least for me, people ask me, "We're going to be a month from now." Why do I want to think about that?
No.
Why? I sent my wife an iCal. It's on her calendar too. That's the only person needs to know, because if I'm constantly thinking about it, I mean, unless the gig involves a lot of particular prep, just the weight of travel. Ugh.
Yeah,
I really,
far in the future.
That's live in the now.
That's future me's issue. I don't even know that guy.
Future. I don't.
All right, this conversation is going to continue, but it will be behind the paywall, and you can get access to that by going to heymannature.com or heymannature.substack.com. Please do that. And I would like to thank the great Doc Dixon for agreeing to appear on my tiny little show. You are a
My
gentleman
pleasure.
and a wizard.
I was about to buckle under the weight of scholar, so thank you for.
I knew better. I looked you right in your beady little eyes, and I knew that one wasn't going to work. Thanks, folks.
See ya.